I remember it was about a week before Christmas, and I used to work as a truck driver for a delivery company. So during times like these, we were always really busy with getting orders delivered. My deliveries made me so busy that I had to work overtime so I could be with my family on Christmas, which was why I decided to start working overtime, which would consist of me sometimes working at night. It's common for truck drivers to make trips in the middle of the night, but I wasn't used to doing that. Anyway, it was around 3 a.m., and I was on the main highway that led to the last addresses that I had to deliver to. And I was relieved I was getting closer to it, because I was getting quite tired. I've heard of all sorts of stories about this particular highway. Some people claimed it was cursed due to the high number of accidents, while others said there were a lot of criminal activities that went on there. I never really came to believe any of that because I drove through here every time and I never witnessed anything suspicious. After a long drive on the highway, I took a left turn to head directly to my town when I saw someone standing in the middle of the road. I quickly hit my brakes and reduced the headlights because the person seemed to be blinded by them. From afar, the person looked like a boy, so I dropped from the truck to see if there's any way I could assist him. But as I moved closer, I realized it wasn't a boy, but actually a grown man in oversized clothes. His face looked rough and unkempt. He should be in his early to mid-20s. It wasn't obvious, but he was also wearing some sort of bowl haircut wig, which I guess was what made him look so much younger from a distance. I tried talking to him to see if there was any way I could help. He said his name was Timmy, and that he got lost while walking back home. So that's why he stood in the middle of the road, with the hopes that he could stop someone who could drive him back home. I felt like some things weren't adding up. Like, why would he be walking in the middle of the night in the first place? He begged me if I could drive him home, saying it was just a few miles away from the location I met him. But I wasn't too familiar with the road. He said he was familiar with it, but he was too tired to walk home, and it wasn't a walking distance. I checked my time again. I didn't want to get home late, and I didn't want to leave this Timmy guy stranded on the road. I sighed and told him to hop in the truck, but that no matter how far it was, I planned to get home before 4 a.m. We had to turn around and head towards the highway, but we took another turn to the right. I was becoming suspicious because the road was getting more and more deserted as we drove, but he said we were close to his home, and I had nothing to worry about. I looked at the side mirror and noticed a car driving in the distance behind us. Every turn we took, the car was always taking it with us, which I thought was definitely weird. Suddenly, Timmy started to quickly jolt his head backwards and side to side. His eyes rolled up in the back of his head. I looked over at him, asking him what was going on. He was visibly having a seizure. I stopped the truck to check on Timmy. He was still jolting from side to side, quite aggressively. Weirdly though, the car that was behind us stopped too. Instead of driving around, I kept staring at the side of the mirror because I was starting to think Timmy was actually faking his seizure. After about 5 seconds from me stopping the truck, 4 men with masks covering their faces stepped out of the car. I quickly pulled out a gun from my drawer and pointed at Timmy's face. At first, it felt like it was the wrong thing to do, but when he felt the cold gun on his forehead, he stopped faking a seizure immediately and started begging for his life. I gave him a stare that told him I wanted him to get out of my truck. He opened the door and ran to his friends, who rushed back to their car and drove off. It felt like a courageous moment for me, but I was honestly scared to death. I turned the truck around and drove off happy that I made it out of the situation. I couldn't stop imagining what if Timmy had a gun, and actually, he pulled it on me first. But in the end, I was happy I made it through, and I got home safe that night.